In the last video, we saw that the first step in creating predictive models was to get the dataset ready for your models. So let's see how do we get that. So let's assume that your entire data which is available is represented by these boxes, and you have identified which are your dependent variables, in this case represented by y, and which are your independent variables, which are represented by x. So what you are essentially trying to do through this predictive model is find the mapping which takes x as the input and gives you y as the output. And you want to do this for all your future use cases or for your future examples or future data where you would get x but you would want to predict y, right? So for example, you have all the past data of your defaults in case of a bank, and you want to use that to create relationships so that you can say that whenever a person hasn't paid you for more than a particular time and the amount is higher than a particular amount, the chances of the person going default are very high. So you are essentially looking at those relationships between x and y so that you can do the mapping. But the challenge is, how do we create a predictive model on this? And in order to do that, what we do is we divide the dataset into two parts. The first part is called a training dataset and the second part is called a testing dataset. Now, why do we do that? We do this in order to make sure that our model is robust and it does not overfit the data. So let me explain that a bit. So what we do is we divide the data into two parts. The trained data is used to actually build the model. And then we use the model which we have built on the trained data to see whether we are getting the predictions on the test data in the right manner or not. We need to do this because we do not have any other data to test this model explicitly on. Right? So for example, if I use the entire data to build my model, I will not be able to see whether I am able to predict my future values in the right manner. So if I represent that by x dash, I will not be able to see whether I predict x dash in the right manner or not. So what I do is I go back to my current data set and I either divide it randomly, or in case of time dependent variables, what I do is I move the current day to one of the days in past and I assume that the data in between the hypothetical current day and the current day is actually my future data. So now I'll train my data on x and y and I'll test it on x dash. So this is my training data and this is my test data, right? So that is how you divide the data so that you can use this to train your model